Hello students, in today's video I will be explaining about the contributions of Delhi Sultanate. Before getting into the video, if anyone is seeing the channel without subscribing, please do subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. As I have told before, almost 70% seeing my channel have still not subscribed to my channel. So if you wish to encourage me, please do subscribe and share it with your friends. So without wasting much time, let us get into the video. So in today's video, the topic we are going to see is contribution of Delhi Sultanate. Contribution of Delhi Sultanate. So in the last few videos, we were seeing about the different dynasties of Delhi Sultanate, that is Slave, Khilji, Tughlaq, Sayyid, Lodi. Then we saw about the different rulers of those dynasties, their contribution we saw. Now all together we are going to see the contributions of Delhi Sultanate. So first we will see about the contribution in administration, or basically we will see about the administration of Delhi Sultanate. Administration. So the kingdom of Delhi Sultanate was basically a theocratic state. So Delhi Sultanate was basically a theocratic state. That is, it was basically a religious state, that is Islamic state. So it was a theocratic state, that is basically means religious, and which religion? It was an Islamic state. So naturally, an Islamic state, they followed Islamic laws, that is Shariat law. Shariat was followed by the kingdoms of Delhi Sultanate. So the Shariat meaning is the Islamic law. So they basically followed the Islamic law of the state. And now we see about the important people who controlled the state administration. One of the most important person of an Islamic state is the ulema. Ulema is basically a body of Islamic scholars. It is a body of Islamic scholars, and this body, ulema, controlled the state and administration. So the body of Islamic scholar basically controlled the state and administration. So this is all seen in the Shariat or the Islamic law. So in the Delhi Sultanate, in the kingdoms of Delhi Sultanate, basically it was theocratic state, that is based on religion. Shariat was followed, that is Islamic law. The ulema, a body of Islamic scholars, controlled the state and administration. So mainly the state and administration were controlled by the ulemas. Ulemas were a body of Islamic scholars. The Sultan, so now what is the position of Sultan here? We said that the state and administration basically controlled by ulemas. The Sultan called themselves as Naib of the Khalifa. So the Sultan called himself as Naib. Naib means the deputy of Khalifa. Deputy of Khalifa. Khalifa or Caliph is the head of Islamic state and religion. Head of Islamic state and religion. State and religion all over the world. Head of Islamic state and religion of the world. So now the Sultan itself called himself as a deputy of the Khalifa. That means the Sultan gave more importance to the Khalifa than himself. So Sultan called himself as a Naib or the deputy of the Khalifa. Now who was the Khalifa? Khalifa was the head of the Islamic state and religion. Now let us see about the central government. So basically in administration, what all points we have seen is the kingdom of Delhi Sultanate is a theocratic state. That is the first point we saw. It was based on religion, and they followed Shariat, Islamic law. The ulema, body of Islamic scholars, controlled the state and administration. The Sultan himself called as a Naib or a deputy of the Khalifa, who was the head of Islamic state and religion. Now regarding the central government, if we see, the Sultan was basically the head of administration. Sultan or the king was basically the head of administration. In the central government, Sultan was the head of administration, and Sultan had three different powers, that is legislative power, executive power and judicial powers. So three main powers were there in the hands of Sultan, that is legislative, executive and judicial powers. So Sultan was the head of administration. He had three different powers: legislative, executive and judicial. These three powers were vested in the hands of the Sultan. Sultan was guided by ulemas. So Sultan was king or the Sultan. He was guided by ulemas. Ulemas we have already studied as a body of Islamic scholars. So Sultan was given guidance by the ulemas, but there was one king who kept the ulemas away from the state affairs, that is Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji was a little different here. Alauddin Khilji kept the ulemas away from the state affair. He did not like ulemas interfering in the state affairs. So Alauddin Khilji kept the ulemas away from state affairs, matters of the state. The Sultan carried the administration with the help of number of ministers. So here the Sultan there was a number of ministers to carry on the administration, and these ministers were in charge of different departments. There were different departments and there were ministers for each department, and the Sultan carried out administration with the help of ministers, that is Alauddin Khilji. So in central government, the Sultan was the head of administration. He had legislative, executive and judicial powers. He was guided by ulemas, but Alauddin Khilji kept the ulemas away from the state affairs, and the Sultan carried the administration with the help of number of ministers who was in charge of different departments. That was about the central government. Now let us see about the revenue system of Delhi Sultanate. Revenue. So we can say that they received different sources of revenue. Land revenue was one of the main source from which the king received revenue. Then they used to get a war booty. After winning the war, they used to get war booty. Annual tributes from different kings, they used to get annual tributes. That also was a kind of revenue. And they had different types of taxes. On different things there was different type of taxes. So all these etc. were the main source of revenue. So they had different sources of revenue. Land revenue was a main source, war booty was there, annual tribute and different taxes were the main sources of revenue. And this land revenue could be paid either in cash or in kind. It could be paid either in cash or in kind, in the form of materials it could be paid. So only this much was there about revenue. Land revenue, war booty, annual tribute, different taxes were there, and land revenue could be paid in either cash or in kind. Next let us see about the justice during the time of Delhi Sultanate. Justice. So we all know that they followed the Shariat or the Islamic law, and the Sultan administered justice with the help of a chief justice called as Qazi ul Qazat. Qazi ul Qazat was the chief justice during that time. Okay, he was the chief justice, and this chief Qazi was helped by another person called as Mufti. The chief Qazi or the chief justice was helped by Mufti, who was the interpreter of Islamic law. He was the interpreter of Islamic law. See, because the state was run based on the Shariat or Islamic law, every decision was made based on the Islamic law. So there should be someone to interpret the Islamic law. So that was Mufti. So the main person, chief justice, was Qazi ul Qazat. He was a chief justice. So Sultan was helped by Qazi ul Qazat. Sultan was helped by Qazi ul Qazat, and Qazi ul Qazat was helped by an interpreter of Islamic law called as Mufti. Now the towns and cities had courts. The towns also had courts and cities also had courts. Towns and cities both had courts for deciding cases. They had courts headed by Qazi and assisted by Mufti. Everywhere there was court. In every court there was Qazi ul Qazat as Chief Justice and Mufti who was helping. Now there was another group of people, that is Kotwal, and Kotwal was the police officer in charge of law and order. Police officer. So these were the different people in charge of justice. That is, Sultan was administered justice with the help of the Chief Justice called as Qazi ul Qazat. Qazi ul Qazat was helped by Mufti, who was the interpreter of Islamic law. In towns and cities there were courts, and Kotwal was the police officer who was in charge of the law and order situation. So this was about the justice situation in Delhi Sultanate. Now just let us see the points which we have studied till now. We studied that in the administration of Delhi Sultanate, the kingdom of Delhi Sultanate was theocratic. Shariat or Islamic law were the rules of the state. The ulema, a body of Islamic scholars, controlled the state and administration. The sultans called themselves Naib or deputy of Khalifa, who was the head of the Islamic state and religion of the world. In central government, Sultan was the head of administration. He had legislative, executive and judicial powers. He was guided by the ulemas, but Alauddin Khilji kept the ulemas away from the state affairs. The Sultan carried the administration with the help of number of ministers who were in charge of different departments. Regarding revenue, land revenue, war booty, annual tribute, different taxes, etc. were the various sources of income of the state. Land revenue could be paid either in cash or in kind. Regarding justice, the Sultan administered justice with the help of Qazi ul Qazat, who was the Chief Justice. Chief Qazi was helped by Mufti, who was the interpreter of Islamic law. Towns and cities had courts headed by Qazis and assisted by Muftis. Kotwal was the police officer in charge of the law and order situation. So this was about the justice during Delhi Sultanate. Now let us move on to the next topic, that is about the army during the Delhi Sultanate. Army. So regarding the army, we all know that the kings of Delhi Sultanate was known for their conquests. So they maintained a strong army. So the army was very strong. That is, the kings of Delhi Sultanate maintained a strong army. Now the army consisted of different departments. That is, the army consisted of cavalry. The army consisted of infantry, that is normal soldiers. Cavalry means soldiers on horseback, horsemen, and elephant forces. Elephant forces. So these were the three main departments of army. They maintained a strong army with cavalry, infantry and elephant forces. The Sultanate was primarily a military state. They were much of a military state, and in this military state the Sultan was the chief commander. Military state with the Sultan as chief commander. So that was the situation of the army during the Delhi Sultanate. They maintained a strong army with cavalry, infantry and elephant forces. It was basically a military state with Sultan as the chief or the supreme commander. All ministers and officers except the Chief Justice and the Qazi had to render both civil and military duties. That was a very different thing we can see in Delhi Sultanate. That is, all ministers and officers, here there is an exception, except the Chief Qazi, all other ministers and officers had to render both civil duties and military duties. That is, whatever civil duties or whatever department they are responsible, that duty they have to do. Together with that, they have to do military duties also. Okay, so all ministers and officers except the Chief Justice and the Qazi had to render both civil duties and military duties. So that was a very different thing we see in the Delhi Sultanate. And the main officer responsible for the army was Diwan-e-Aris. Diwan-e-Aris was the main officer who was in charge of the army organization and administration. Army organization and administration. Okay, in both these duties were mainly done by or mainly controlled by the officer called as Diwan-e-Aris, army organization and administration. So this many points are there about the army of Delhi Sultanate. So this much points are included in the central government. Now after the central government, let us know about the provincial administration during Delhi Sultanate. Provincial administration. Here let us see how the empire was divided and what was the different officers responsible. So provincial administration. The Sultanate was divided into number of provinces. So here the Delhi Sultanate, it was divided into number of provinces. These provinces were called as Iqtas. Iqtas, okay. So number of provinces called as Iqtas, and each Iqta was under a governor called as Naib Sultan. So here Iqta was under an officer or a governor called as Naib Sultan. Okay, so here governor. So the Sultanate was divided into a number of provinces called as Iqtas, and each was under a governor called as Naib Sultan. The governor enjoyed absolute power in his province, and he looked after administration, collected revenue, maintained law and order. So this governor or the Naib Sultan had almost we can tell absolute power. Absolute power was there with the governor, and he looked after administration, collected revenue, maintained law and order, etc. And he also, this governor also had an army of his own. That is why it is said that he had absolute power. And some of the sultans transferred these governors and punished them if they revolted against the sultan. See, when this governor is having absolute power, naturally they will go against the sultan. So for that, some of the sultans even transferred the governors. So that was about Iqtas or provinces. Now each province was divided into shiks. Each province was divided into shiks, and these shiks were looked after by officers called as shikdar. Okay, shiks were looked after by shikdars, and shiks were again divided into pargans. Another division, shiks were divided into pargans, and they were looked after by officers called as amils. And the primary unit of administration, we can tell, was the village. Village was the primary unit of administration, and there were different officers in the villages like Chaudhary or Patwari, Chaukidar. All these were the officers of the villages. Okay, so provincial administration, the Delhi Sultanate was divided into a number of provinces called as Iqtas. Iqtas had officers called governor called as Naib Sultan, and this Naib Sultan or the governor enjoyed absolute power. He had power, he looked after the administration, collected revenue, maintained law and order, etc. And he also had his own army. So when they had absolute power with him, sometimes they revolted against the sultans, and for that the sultans transferred and punished some of the governors. Now after that, each provinces were called as Iqtas. Each province were divided into shiks, by which was looked after by shikdar. Shiks were divided into pargans, looked after by amils, and the primary unit of administration was the village, and it had traditional officers like Chaudhary, Patwari, etc. So this much was about the provincial administration of Delhi Sultanate. So now let us see about the army. The Sultan maintained a strong army consisting of cavalry, infantry and elephant force. The Sultanate was primarily a military state and Sultan was a supreme commander. All ministers and officers except the Chief Justice and Qazi had to render both civil and military duties. Diwan-e-Ariz was in charge of army organization and administration. Now regarding provincial administration, the Sultanate was divided into a number of provinces called as Iqtas. Each was under a governor called Naib Sultan. Governor enjoyed absolute power in his province and looked after the administration, collected revenue, maintained law and order, etc. He also maintained an army of his own. Some sultans transferred the governors and punished them if they revolted against the sultan. Each province was divided into sheikhs and pargans, which were looked after by sheikhdar and amils respectively. Village was a primary unit of administration and it had traditional officers such as chaudhry, patwari, chaukidar, etc. So this much are the points regarding the contribution of Delhi Sultanate in administration. Now the contribution of Delhi Sultanate is not yet over. We have contributions in literature, art and architecture, etc. that we will be seeing in the next video. So I hope you understood all the points which is explained in today's video. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment section. And if you have liked this video and if you feel it has been helpful for you, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you all soon in the next video. Thank you for watching.